Hey guys, Brian here coming to you with some more bomber beta. Unfortunately, today we're going to be talking about pulley injuries. I'm actually coming out of a pulley injury, happened about 5 weeks ago. And I just want to share my experience and maybe tell you guys some of the research that I've done and what I've found out about this injury that happens so often to climbers. My injury is an A4 injury to my left middle finger, so like basically that right there. That is not as common as the A2, which is here and here, which the ring finger is actually the most common one, according to a 2006 paper by Volker Schnoffel. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. He's German. And there's that O with the umlaut over there, which I'm not very good at pronouncing. But anyways, I want to take this time to go over the first part of when you get a pulley injury, how it happens, what to look for, and how to deal with the initial acute part of this phase. So before I get started, I'm not a medical professional. This is just my experience, and go find a person that is qualified and licensed in your area to give a proper diagnosis. That being said, there's a lot of people out there that are probably qualified that aren't actually any good at giving advice to climbers. So be careful. Maybe go to your local gym, ask around, find someone that has done it and knows a bit about it. Like if you happen to be in a climbing area like, Boulder, Colorado, like there's probably a lot of good people there. If you happen to get in touch with one of these physical therapists that has a lot of experience, like Esther Smith, I'm going to be talking about her later on, that would be a good person to go to as well. But before we get into that, let's go over what to do. So your number one thing to do after you get a pulley is get one of these. No, but seriously, stop climbing. Just don't do it. Sit on the couch, watch some Netflix, and use the typical RICE method, which is rest, ice. These little penguin finger things are really good. They go on your finger, you throw them in the freezer or the fridge, and you put them on your finger, let it cool it down. Compression, it kind of compresses, I just dropped it, but, and then regardless, another thing that you can do is actually get one of these collagen peptide supplements. Eric Horst actually started a company. This isn't his, actually, this is another one that I found that I'm taking right now. I'll probably pick up Eric's next time because his stuff is looks like a little better and climber centric. But I'll link his stuff in the description below. And also go ahead and get some books here. This guy, Dave, he is one of the coolest climbers out there, it seems like. He's got a great YouTube channel. You guys should go check his stuff out. He talks about some of this stuff as well. But he's got a whole section here on pulley injuries, and you can see there all the different ones. We got the A4, the A3, and the A2, which are typical of what you're going to run into. So if you get a chance, pick this up. I'll leave a link in the description below too. But so what do you do? Right after you get the injury, we're going to try and rest. And you got to figure out what kind of injury you have. Now, the 2006 paper by Volker had 4 different grades of the injury. One would be a strain of the A4, which is I'm pretty sure what I have. There's a grade 2, which is a complete rupture of the A4 or a partial rupture of the A3 or A2, right? So these down here, partial there, complete here. Grade 3 is going to be a complete rupture of the A2 and A3, and then a grade 4 is going to be basically a complete failure of your whole entire pulley system, and you're going to see bowstringing, which I mean, it sounds horrific, and at that point you definitely want to try and find a good orthopedic surgeon, hand specialist to go ahead and actually fix your pulley, preferably someone that's worked on climbers before. I know that when I went to a seminar with Volko, he said that he had done many of those procedures before. He's based out of Germany, but I think he does do some stuff in the US, so he might be a good one to actually get in touch with if you have that kind of funding and stuff to go and get that done. But regardless, getting a good diagnosis is very important, and kind of being able to listen to your body and tell you how severe the injury is important as well. So before we go into that, let's talk about how the injury often happens. So typically what's going to happen is you're going to be either in a fully crimped position or a pocket of some sort, right? And either your foot's going to slip or you're going to try the move too many times and it's going to start. Often it can be a pop, but it doesn't seem like it has to be. There's a lot of testimonials out there that say that they have heard a pop, and there's a lot that says they don't, and they all seem to end up being, they can be any grade of this sprain. So do be aware of that. Some of them are acute, some of them are more chronic, some of them come on slow. My personal one came on slow. So mine happened, I was on a trip in Leavenworth, Washington, and I was really psyched. I sent my first V11, long-time goal of mine, came back to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I'm based out of, and I got on a 13A, sent it first go of the day, my second 13A I've ever done, and I was feeling on top of the world. And I had felt a little pain leading up to that. It had been about, so maybe like 5 days in between my V11 and 13A, feeling super strong, coming off a strong training session over the summer, and get on a 13B right after I send the 13A and try the crux move way too many times, and sure enough, I'm feeling some pain the next day, and it keeps on getting a little worse. And that was, you know, I had maybe 5 days of knowing that there was something there and being ignorant enough to not listen to my body, and now I'm paying the price and I'm 5 weeks out. And you know, I didn't really want to make a video earlier than this because I was honestly pretty depressed about it. It was very hard to deal with, not being able to climb. So you know, I took this pretty hard. So starting off, you know, you got to ice that thing. Like I said, these penguin finger things, let me grab it off the ground. These penguin finger things are pretty good. They're very cold. You might just want to use ice, or you know, you can stick your whole hand in an ice thing, go into hot. There's a lot of different methods that you can use. And rest. But take this first opportunity. You want to make sure that before you start going on to the phase 2, that you do not push this thing too hard. You don't want to be, you know, doing any like crazy kind of massage things on it until that inflammation has gone down. And for me, that didn't take more than 2 days. But for some people, it's going to take, according to the Volker's thing, it could take up to 2 weeks. So depending on the grade of your injury, it can be worse. So just be aware of that. This is a great opportunity to work on some of your weaknesses too, such as maybe your core, antagonist muscles, chest, cardiovascular stuff. All that kind of stuff is good to train while your pulley is injured. So don't let this take you down, and just be careful, rest, and that could take up to 2 weeks. So this is part 1 of what I hope will be a 4-part series on what to do about your pulley injury. Next, we're going to talk about how to start to mobilize that finger and get it so it's moving again. Get get the range of motion back, and get ready to start actually getting it to heal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and see you in